So the next special effects look we're going to do is a gash. Okay, so the next tool that I'm gonna be using is called Third Degree. When you get these things, it's actually silicone compound, and they come in 2 different things. So you're gonna get A and you're gonna get B. So what is gonna happen is that I'm gonna mix 2 equal parts of these and have about roughly 2 to 3 minutes to mold it. I wanna do the, taking them out of the jar and separate spatulas because I don't wanna mix the compound, it's gonna mess it up. Separate, they're completely fine, but as soon as I start mixing them, that's when the timer starts going. So I'm gonna be doing a gash on her eye. I did get a question earlier asking if it was gonna be a problem for her eyebrow, and I don't think it's going to be. Majority of the time, if you do get a gash on your eye, it's gonna, it hits up here, goes down to your cheek, and majority of the time it does not hit your eye, and that's why the cheekbone is there, kind of protects the eyebrow and the cheekbone. They protect the eyelid or the eye itself. Okay, now I have these 2. I'm gonna mix them. I had the opportunity to get the, it was either this or the wax, and I'm not a fan of the wax. I don't mind it, but this is a lot more realistic. And the wax, you can also get a realistic look if you wanted to, but if you are in a pinch and you want to actually make it look like it's part of the face, you're better off with this one. So you're gonna have the consistency of like peanut butter, I guess you can say. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit on my spatula and I'm gonna go ahead. So I'm only doing one side first. And then I have the other side. I don't want to go too far up because that is her hairline, so just be wary of that. So right now is a good example of telling you that you have to be wary with your product. See how I barely used any, and I still have a lot more product left. So just be wary of how much you're going to use. So I did the other half. I left a little bit of a gap in the middle. I'm going to spread it on the other side. We're gonna let this set. So as you can see, it is clearing up to the actual skin color, and you're seeing that it's like a gash in the middle of it. If you wanted to, you can definitely get the actor's personal makeup if you wanted to, or makeup artist if you want to match their skin tone. You can definitely put on foundation or some setting powder. That can definitely help it out. But as of right now, since we are only doing this quick look, we don't really need any of that just yet. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit on her nose, and that's it for that piece. We're gonna go ahead and start coloring it. So now that we let it set for a few minutes, you would like to put some either like a foundation powder or a setting powder, so that way it can, because right now it is tacky at the moment, you can definitely set it. But I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna take my bruise wheel again, and I do have a foundation sponge. What I like to do specifically, so that way it doesn't look like it was meant to be there, I like to rip off the edges of it and get a little bit of a textured look to it. Nothing too crazy. And if I want to, I can definitely grab on this side too, but I'm only gonna do it on that one side. So I'm gonna go a little bit on the bright red on the bruise wheel, and don't do it too crazy. We're gonna do it like we did in the bruise. We're just gonna pat it on there, sip it on there as best you can. And again, a little goes a long way, so don't put too much product on there. I'm pushing in more on her inside of her eye, because it's gonna be the whole area that's gonna be impacted, not just the gash. You can see right here, see how there's not much product in a bunch of gapped areas? That's what you want. That way it doesn't look like it's a straight line. It's gonna pick up pigment in different patches. I'm gonna go in on that dark brown red. Feel free to do the, go based off the bruise look itself and go in on the eye. Go ahead and close your eye, love. And go in on the eye also. Add a little bit irritation. All right, And don't forget that little gash that we have on the nose. I'm gonna add some coloring on it. You can definitely add color everywhere else. Okay, so that's what it looks like right now. This is just with the sponge. We're gonna go ahead and go in a little bit further. We're gonna do an angled flat brush. We're gonna go on a little darker. We're gonna go inside that V that I created, little valley area. And this part is really critical for you to have, just be very gentle with it. Have a light hand and feather it up. And then if you're going from the bottom, feathering it down. Right now it does have a bit of shine to it. I unfortunately didn't add any of the setting powder because I didn't have it in hand at the moment. But do not forget to put some setting powder and that'll take the shine right off. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in on the brow itself. So in the brow, I just added a little bit of color because later on I'm gonna add some blood and it's probably gonna trickle down from there. But what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up the blood that I'm gonna be using later. So I'm adding a different color, darker colors, so that way when the blood actually sets on top of the wound, it pops out more. So right here, I just add a little bit of scratches. So she did get scratched down here. So since we had a little bit of bruising on this side, and she had some scratches on that end, probably more likely she got tossed around here and there and got ruffled in with some items going down. So that's what I'm doing there. So I can take with my stipple sponge and I like to scrape it. I'm gonna do it on the bottom also. So I'm gonna add a little bit of product on that end. Just kind of load it up on the side. And then with the stipple sponge, grab it from where you had the product and swipe it. So if you don't see much product, go back in again. One trick that I like to do is I like the VY look. So usually it's either like a small V or a Y. You start with a V and then you kind of go out a little bit, make it into a Y. That way it kind of looks like blood veins and you have that little gap in the middle to accentuate it more and make it look like it's more of an impact. All right, and I'm going back with the brush, going over the actual open itself on the sides. The next move we're gonna do is we're gonna actually add blood. Head and grab another brush. It can be either one of these two, it's completely fine. It's just depending on the look that you're gonna do or whatever gash you're gonna use. Obviously, the bigger the brush, the more product you're gonna get. But I'm just gonna put a little bit on the inside and then we should be good from there. I'm gonna first start off with the fresh scab. This one I've used a lot, as you can tell. It's my favorite. I would like to think this is like a really thick, kind of like a taffy consistency. Usually on the back, they have like a little container that's like half open and it tells you the number on the side. It says 12M. That means it's up to a year that it's last for its freshness, I guess you can say. And then you would just move on and get the product over again. But we're gonna go ahead and move on with this one. This is Benign Dark Blood. This one also I use a lot. This one is also like a jelly consistency. I'm just gonna add some on my plate here. Again, only use the amount of product that you're gonna use, so I'm not gonna use that much. A little bit on my brush, load it up. And I'm gonna start off on the bottom of her eye. And you guys, I can't preface this enough. A little goes a long way. The less, the better. The more realistic it is, because yes, you do draw blood whenever you get gashes and whatnot, but it doesn't come out as quickly as you think. So I'm gonna use the stipple sponge and I am going to stipple the blood around. It's not very much. I like to test it on the plate, make sure I'm not getting that much product. That's good. And then we're gonna add some at the top. This one didn't get much of an opening, so we're gonna kind of put it on the top, above it. So don't forget the brow, you guys. Mess it up a little bit, tuffle it. If you want to, you can add the blood a little bit farther down. Don't feel too obligated to go all the way up, because if you really think about it, your brow bone and your cheekbone stick out more than your eye socket. So it would not grab under her eye, realistically. It would go a little bit over her eye. That way you can use the little bit of the blood, splatter a little bit. And then after that, you should be good. You can probably place the hairs a little bit ruffled, and that's it. Ta-da!